A story is rarely happening to just one person. Multiple people will become involved at some point, and each of them will have their own story to tell as a result of the different perspectives. Sometimes it's only through examining all of these perspectives that we get a clearer picture of what the true sequence of events is, and sometimes if that event happens to multiple people, that means a lot of different perspectives and clues for us to find. Such is the case with the subject of today's video, Little Red's Transfer 2, also known as Vessel of Notion, and all of the associated extras and hidden videos, or at least what's been found to my knowledge. Firstly, before we move on to discussing the video, I want to give a big thanks to the Discord community around this series, who basically did most of the legwork of finding all the hidden videos and content scattered around. They compiled a document of these things, which I'll link in the description below, and honestly their work has helped me keep track of every little clue and bit of content while writing this script. Before we begin, please keep in mind that this is just the first of a multiple part video. There's a lot of stuff to get through this time, and if you don't see something mentioned or discussed here, it could just be in another part. I'm going to talk about what we see first mostly, before I start trying to piece anything together. And as always, be aware that this is an entry of a VHS horror series, and therefore there will be disturbing imagery involved. While I ask that you watch the videos I cover as well as my own videos, I don't want you to upset yourself as a result. Take care of yourself. I also ask that you view my previous Little Reds talking about videos so you're caught up on my theories and thoughts so far. And with that out of the way, let's begin. Buckle up, this is going to be a long ride. Vessel of Notion is a video that takes on the format of a rough documentary compiled of clips put together roughly. It comes across as something that hasn't been done by a big production company, but rather a hobbyist who is still practicing the art. The video starts on a black screen with the sound of white noise in the background, and eventually a musical track fades in and we hear a man speaking. He introduces us to Informational Inquisitor and our host, JJ. People who've been following this series so far might recall that JJ was mentioned by Ivan to be another one of the people looking for details about the incident that Illusion Plus was attempting to hide. He then goes on to tell us a story related to the reopening of a local chain called Harry's Frozen Emporium, an ice cream shop that used to contain an arcade. He recounts this tale from his childhood of a friend, Zeke, who during the 2nd or 3rd grade placed his tickets on the floor where another child attempted to swipe them. Unfortunately, Zeke is described as being an interesting guy who was always aware of his surroundings and continues to be up to the present. At this point, the staticky white noise that has been behind the audio dips briefly before it resumes as JJ continues. The kid stood up with Zeke's tickets, and apparently Zeke clocked the kid, knocking him out. JJ remarks that this is probably why those arcade games got removed from the place. He then assures the listeners that he is fine and they laughed about the incident recently, but doesn't specify whether he's talking about Zeke or the kid he hit. He then stops talking as the music fades back in, but the music gets stuck at a certain point, skipping and repeating a few second loop of the track before it completely cuts off. After a short period of more white noise and black screen, words fade in on screen. Hello, it's been a while, but I promise you that I've been working very hard to gather as much information as possible. I even picked up a few editing skills to help this process go a bit smoother. The number of video clips, images, articles and audio files I found is astronomical. And I hope you can all piece together whatever may be occurring within this company's history. It's disturbing to say the least. I don't recommend anyone who is easily unsettled to continue watching this. But I do hope you all pull through. I need you. All of you. In the midst of this message for a few seconds, we see a YouTube link before it fades out. This is a link to one of many different pieces of hidden video and content scattered throughout this video, as well as prior videos, but we'll come back to those later on. Based on the words of this message, it seems that the person who has compiled this video is unable to definitively put together a narrative of what actually happened, and is sharing the video now not just for the sake of curiosity or remembrance, but to get more eyes onto this content and hopefully together work it out. The mention of editing brings to mind the description of Count Your Years, yet I'm not sure if this is the same person as whoever typed that. Again, the upload of Count Your Years seemed hyped to finding the old cartoons, and this person doesn't sound as excited. In fact, it sounds more like whoever wrote the description for the very first Little Red's transfer video. At the same time though, I'm not entirely sure if they are the same, as whoever is now communicating with us is trying to solve the mystery beyond just figuring out one unfinished tape transfer on CD. The mention of learning the editing also lends credence to my earlier thought that the documentary we're watching was composed by someone who has less experience in making one. Based on things we later see and read, I do have an idea on who I think this could be, but I'll get to that once we've covered all the content we've been offered. The words fade and music begins again, and we see a television advert for Little Reds, one we've seen parts of in prior videos. This is the advert we first saw underneath Ivan's first message in Little Red's transfer, and we've also seen some of the text pop up in the final segment of Pulling the Curtains. Overlaid on this advert are shots of a house and text telling us that a stash of computer discs, video cassettes and documentations were discovered in the wooden backing of a cabinet, supposedly at the house shown. We're then shown a picture of a man in a suit, shot side on and facing left, as we're told that what was found on them was beyond a simple employee guide, and was instead a gateway to a gut-wrenching reality. Well, actually it says gut-reaching, but I've been assured that's a mistake. Anyway, we then get told that what we're about to see is a bunch of unfinished transfers with first-hand accounts from former employees included. Above this is a photo of a little red animatronic with its body endoskeleton laid bare. Then we see the title card for the documentary, and thus the video, Little Red's Transfer to A Vessel of Notion. Underneath the title reads, a collection of lost footage from the Illusion Plus entertainment franchise. The background is a video of someone descending a staircase in the dark, a flashlight beam lighting their way, the staircase located inside a tight corridor. The screen then goes black again, but not entirely. There is a clearly defined line on the right hand side and something to the left. Brightening it, it could just be a graphical leftover, but the bit to the left is shaped a little bit like a head partially in shadow. We then get an informational screen on what we're about to see, a tape called Setting Sail Introduction Tape. Playing is a soundtrack that will be used throughout to link together sections, which I'm going to call the linking track. The text is to the right of the screen, while an image of a cruise ship takes up the left with the date of July 18th, 2013 underneath, supposedly dating the time this clip was produced, or maybe last worked upon. Introduction tape announcing the Comet Cruise Lines and Illusion Plus Entertainment Partner Deal campaign. This association is what caused the franchise rebranding of each Comet cruise ship, introducing the world to Little Red's marine mania. This particular DVD was left undeveloped and still maintains notes and encryptions from editors and employees who had parts within its production. Suspects Caro Martinez and Andrew Davison were the first employees of the Illusion Plus Entertainment brand to express an interest in the disappearance of Ivan Carpenter. Communication between the two began through still frames used as placeholders for the scenes that were either missing or unfinished. Employees refer to these frames as the back halls and were sometimes used by staff to communicate with one another since their emails were heavily monitored. Other variations of the back halls have not been identified. The screen eventually fades out and then back in on an off-white screen with slight letterboxing and the three coloured bars of Illusion Plus in the bottom left corner going up and down in a loading graphic. The sound is just more white noise, slightly louder than before, until some honestly very funky music starts playing. We see the Illusion Plus Entertainment logo on screen with animated cross-frame waves reflected within the three bars. Underneath, some text appears on screen, but it's much too small and fuzzy to make out. The music fades out and the logo vanishes along with the text. More small text blinks up at the base of the screen in the white noise silence, but again it's very small and hard to make out. It fades, the music fades back in, and a photo of a man in a suit fades on screen, moving across from the right and giving the screen a thumbs up as a DVD menu appears on the left of the screen with the title of Introductory Home Video and three options: Play Feature, Scene Select and Setup Menu. Behind all of this are two lines, one red and one dark blue, moving across the screen in a lazy wave shape. Eventually the screen fades as we see an arrow click on the Play Feature option, playing us the Setting Sail tape. It starts by fading in on an image of a letter marked with an Illusion Plus logo, so we can assume it's either a job offer letter or an employee pack of resources needed for the job this video is for. Alongside the letter is a pack marked Digital Cater with a visual of a little redhead wearing a snorkel and mask. Underneath we see the narration being subtitled. The narrator informs the listener that they've been hired and welcomes them to the Illusion Plus brand, before the picture slides down with a click, sounding like that of an old-fashioned projector. A new image, one of a television presenting the screen for a show Woodland Pals with a coffee mug next to it bearing yet another cartoonish Little Red image, appears in its place. Little Red is more wolfish in depiction than the prior cartoon Red we've seen from the first video, and underneath the Woodland Pals title are the words "A production by Barley Tales." The narrator advises us to make ourselves comfortable before the image slides down to be replaced by an image of some Little Red's merchandise. These include pages of what looks like a comic, some badges with Lox's and Galley's face on them, what appears to be a wristwatch with Little Red's face on it, and finally the lunchbox we first saw back in Count Your Years. We're told that Illusion Plus became aware they needed to do something big to keep their characters in the spotlight after so long. Oddly, while the narrator reads out the full Little Red, the subtitles underneath miss out the red part of the name. The narration goes on to tell us that Illusion Plus has partnered with many companies over the year, but this new deal with Comet has blown all other competitors out of the water. We see a series of 3 photos looking as if they come from a disposable camera, 2 showing off the same business seat man we've seen plenty of times prior, one being with a crowd behind them, and the third involving a handshake between people. They mention that Comet has taken them under their fin and allowed Red access to the seas. At this point, while the narration continues, the visuals vanish and instead are replaced by an animated graphic of a disc with Little Red's face on it slowly being ejected from a disk drive that also shows the business-suited man. On screen are the words, "Visual corruption error. Laserdisc DVD detected an issue. Please check over the safety guide to properly ensure proper use of DVD. Contact number should be displayed on the DVD case." We are then told that we will be given a brief history on the Little Red's establishment and that the latest venture goes far beyond what has come before. At this point the visuals come back, showing us a home video-esque shot of a diner establishment by a road. We were informed that Little Red started out as a single location back in 1953, with Little Red's frozen custard, something we've already seen referenced in development images from Pulling the Curtains. We're shown a black and white graphic of what was presumably a flyer for the first location, with a cartoon Little Red stood outside the place. We also learned that the first location was located in San Francisco, California. Soon the company was opening up locations all over the United States, and we see another previous logo, the You've Got Scout version, posted up above a mall building with neon lighting spelling out the words Food Court underneath. We're told that it was thanks to the popularity of the locations that Little Red was able to take their business into malls and other larger locations. We're then told that Illusion Plus were aware that burgers, ice cream and bowling wouldn't support the Little Red's franchise forever, so they partnered with another company to create the first Little Red's animatronic, Collide Atomic Creation. This is, again, another part of the lore we saw being hinted at through development images in Pulling the Curtains. The narration also mentions that the Collide animatronic of Red was the first one brought into the world, not counting the prototypes. This animatronic apparently proved a hit, and soon many locations had not only their own robotic Little Red, but many animatronics of the other popular characters. Again, the subtitles differ from what is being spoken. While the narrator says their establishments, the subtitles read your establishments. We were told that Little Red was put into the main dining room, whereas Locks would be located in the Sky Maze, but nothing in the narration suggests that these placements are anything more than possibilities instead of being the positions they'd always be in. The narration talks about how the animatronics were the right direction for the brand, but they eventually ran up against the same issue again. While the robots were getting more advanced, engagement because of them was beginning to dip again, and Illusion Plus Entertainment needed to find a new angle. Again, during this part, the visual corruption error screen is displayed. As the narration begins to tell us about the new location and new audience that they have found, suddenly the video cuts out and there is a brief flash of a blue screen. This is the first of this video's The Back Halls, as they were called. For the sake of this script and it not sounding awkward, I'll henceforth be calling each one of these screens a back hall. In it, we see Kara and Andrew opening communications for the first time. "Hey Ivy, my company email is literally broken. Are you having the same issue? I swear I've tried everything. This is my 4th time logging off and shutting down my computer, and if I don't get it to work soon, I'm gonna get yelled at again, lol. Anyway, I was thinking of using these placeholder frames to talk until I get my email back, I guess. And since we are the only ones working on this video, maybe we can gossip a bit. You won't believe how badly that new intern is doing. It is unfortunate. Kara, Visual Director." "Aye, sorry to inform you, but Ivy said she's dropping this video and instead she's working on that Little Red's cartoon tape they found earlier today. Also try entering your email through the company website. It worked for me a few months ago. Andrew, Clipping Manager." "I'm embarrassed. Andrew, it's nice to meet you. I'm Kara. I work in the art department. I'll be making the animations and sprites for this video. I thought my friend would be working on this film with me, so I was just goofing around. So sorry about that. Kara, Visual Director." "Oh no, you don't have to apologise. Honestly, this is the most entertainment I've had all day. Editing can get tiring. But yeah, I'm Andrew. I do most of the transition work and stuff, so hopefully I won't be getting in your way too much. Also, I'm so down to be your gossip buddy if that role is still available. Andrew, Clipping Manager." "Permission granted, Andrew. You've now been promoted to gossip buddy, Lamal. On my end, I'm just now finishing up the drawings that will be going in the beginning sequence. I was thinking it would be cool if we gave them a tilting animation instead of a simple fade in and out. And then we will switch over to that commercial scene as soon as we get that footage. I don't know, what do you think is best? Also, I just put my email in through the website, but it just isn't working. Then again, I don't use the website often. I usually get my updates and reminders through my email. Kara, visual director. The video then switches briefly back to the off-white loading screen and the background music stops before everything fades out. On screen we then see the text. Footage found outside the home of Tonya Cassidy. Upon entering the home, her body laid lifeless on the floor of her bedroom. This incident was later connected to the disappearance of Ivan Carpenter. No other information has been disclosed. AR Little Rock location. We then see a video filmed seemingly outside, showing a window as we hear a woman crying. There is then a gunshot as she continues to cry before the sound begins to glitch and the footage stops. It is then replaced by something that seems to be an interactive game or novel, shot as if someone is filming the screen it is being played on. In it, we see Gally in a visual we've seen in her initial reveal suite. Gally is stood in the same house from Count Your Years, and to her right is a mirror. She addresses the screen, saying she didn't see them there, but then asks them to clean the mirror off for her as she wants to go out but needs to put on makeup. She pulls up a cloth, and underneath her, as the person holding the camera adjusts their grip and tilts it slightly, we see another small YouTube link pop up briefly. Again, we'll come back to these. The camera looks between Gally and the mirror as the goose waits, asking if the player can find a washcloth. The player finds one, and Gally directs them to spray the mirror with water, which they do, then clean by using the cloth in a circular motion. The camera turns from the screen to look around in the darkness to their right as Gally counts the time spent cleaning. As the first cleaning is finished, the camera turns back and Gally asks that the player do it again. The camera again looks away from the screen into the darkness, this time to the left, and we faintly see the outlines of various screens on this side. Gally's counting suddenly distorts, and the camera turns back to the screen, and as Gally goes to ask for the cleaning to be repeated a third time, she suddenly morphs into a more realistic bird. Of note also is that the picture frame behind her that previously showed Little Red is suddenly dark, the only picture frame that seems to have changed. In the mirror appears some characters which the Discord have made out to be, with the AN at least being clearly visible. The person filming this gasps in mild horror, shifting backwards from the screen as it stays frozen on the image, and we hear a woman scream as the scene fades out. The screen stays dark for a bit, playing the linking track before it fades and we return to the off-white loading screen again. We then fade into an advert for Little Red's Marine Mania, with the video footage of the ad being placed upon a cartoony backdrop as the longest-snouted cartoon Red hovers in the bottom left corner, seemingly watching the advert too. The female narrator attempts to sell us on Little Red's Marine Mania as a choice for a family vacation, as a child voice joins them to tell us about the fun. On screen we're told that the ships have an endless supply of fun. The female narrator tells us that the ships offer a variety of environments, rides and entertainments, and of course the animatronic entertainers, family fun at a low price. The child tells us that while Mum and Dad are shopping, they get to go down the biggest water slide at sea. On screen we see the words shopping galore, clothing, toys, souvenirs, and the cartoon Little Red changes from his calm watching pose to one with his mouth open and arms up, looking away from the advert as if he's trying to spook or scare someone. Just after this there is another flash of blue, the second back hall screen. Yeah, I think we should be getting that commercial pretty soon, and I can put it in for you. And it's weird that the website isn't working on your end. I swear it worked for me. How about I come over to your department later today? I can get your email working and then we can get this video done by Friday? Andrew, clipping manager. God, I hope so. These videos are so repetitive, and the characters are so fucking scary. Ivy gets to work on a damn cartoon while I have to sit and watch robots and arcade cleaning tutorials. Ugh. Kara, visual director. If it makes you feel any better, she's working on the puppet show from the 60s. I don't think she's having too much fun either. Those things are also fucking scary. Andrew, clipping manager. I've never actually seen or heard about there being Little Red's puppet show. Is that where he actually came from? Kara, visual director. Apparently he was first released out to the public via comic book in like 1952 or 51. Then he became a walk-around mascot at drive-in theatres and carnivals. I think the original idea for him was that he would chase and humiliate children who were misbehaving in the lines for rides or something. Real messed up shit. Then his wife decided he'd be better off if he were more kid-friendly, since he was far too grown up. Lamau. Andrew, clipping manager. Oh wow, I didn't know that. How do you have so much information on all of this? I've worked for Illusion Plus for a year now and have never really been told about the past of the company. Kara, visual director. Yeah, it's cool as hell. I've always been interested in this type of stuff, although it doesn't seem like they like us snooping around here that much. At this point, the final part runs off screen, cutting off anything further Andrew was saying, although the screen does tell us a lot of interesting things I'll talk about later with my theorising part. The video resumes with the female narrator telling us about the eating places on board the ship, but for a single frame, another blue back hall screen is seen, except it seems to be mixed with the actual video frame underneath, and whatever text might be on it, potentially the rest of whatever Andrew was saying, cannot be made out. The video continues on to let us know that the children's play area is visible from the eating areas. We then get a list of more things for the adults to enjoy: massages, sport bars, indoor gyms, private pools, and a casino on board. The first 4 of these are presented with icons, each featuring a character from Illusion Plus's roster, but the first 2, the massage place with Gally and the sports bar with a new pig character, are stretched off the bottom of the screen and slightly at the top, while both Lox's gym and Little Red's private pool logos are untouched. We then get another back hall frame. Ivan Carpenter, the guy who went missing in the warehouse in Arkansas? Yeah, I've heard of him. Was he ever found? Kara, visual director. Yeah, dead. After messing with shit he wasn't supposed to. Which is why I personally choose to do most of my work at home and not at our location. Andrew, clipping manager. Which is also probably why I've never seen you here before, lol. Well, how did he die? What was he messing with? All I know is he went missing, but that's about it. Kara, visual director. From what I know, he was cut up into itty bitty pieces and thrown in a locker. Others say he was burned to death and put in a locker. And then you have people who think he was put into a trunk and driven to McDonald's where he died of high blood pressure and his deadly fear of clowns. Andrew, clipping manager. Oh my god, Andrew, stop, because I'm actually scared of clowns and would actually die because of that, Lamau. But what does the majority think? Like, what is the public opinion on the news articles and stuff? Kara, visual director. That's the thing. No one knows, in fact, where this locker is. The only information left at the crime scene was a recording of him running around the warehouse and then getting into said locker. But even with the footage displayed of the room, once investigators followed his trails, it was nowhere to be seen. So everyone's guess is as good as the other. Let's just pray nothing like that ever happens to us. Andrew, clipping manager. Again, we learn a lot of things from this screen, mainly to do with that long-standing question, where is Ivan Carpenter? We can also make a guess that the back full screen that was merged with the video frame and thus unreadable must have contained something that brought up Ivan. We go back to the commercial where the kid asks us what we're waiting for. At this point, the cartoon Little Red reverts to his calm viewing pose. The female narrator tells us to hurry up, that they wouldn't want, but the narration stutters and the entire screen goes dark and silent, almost as if the water slide in the video has led us into this darkness. The camera moves and we see faint silhouettes and lights in the dark. And if you mess around with the brightness and contrast, it's still hard to make out, but it appears that a pig is looming to the left which the camera turns to look at.